everybody. Thank you, Will, for starting the recording. Okay. We have, last count, 13, 17 people here in person at our new host location, Village Grape. Thank you guys for having us. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 people on Zoom, including 3 board members. Oh, wait, we have 4 board members. So we have achieved quorum. Excellent. All right. Well, share the agenda really quick. Okay, so for our agenda today, we're gonna our usual call to order, and then Tad will go over where we're at with the elections and nominations with an update. We'll spend some time on our committee reports, and then we have a guest speaker here, Jeremy Van Kueren. Kueren, sorry,
Yeah,
I knew I was
that's
gonna
fine.
mess that up.
Nah, that's fine.
From PBEM.
It's whatever.
We'll close with announcements and new business. If there are hearing no changes to this agenda, we'll consider it approved as presented. And then there were no changes submitted for the September meeting minutes. Are there any objections to approving those minutes? Hearing none, we will consider those approved. Okay. Move on now to our election nomination updates. I'd like to take it away.
Yes. I'll give you an update. I sent an email to the board this afternoon. I'll read it to you here. Most importantly, the president and vice president roles are still open. We have no nominees for those two. Julie Leet and Peter Sampson have made themselves available to be re-elected as secretary and treasurer. 3 of our current board members are available for re-election: Will Fuller, Beth Omansky, and Stephen McLandridge. I'm adding my own name to that list. I was on the board a year ago. And 5 new names, but a question about one of them. This nominee didn't come directly to me. I heard it from someone else, and I'm not sure if it's what it's supposed to be. Is Carolyn West here?
She's on the screen.
He's on Zoom.
Yep,
There's
right.
you.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
And am I understanding right that you are accepting nomination to the board?
Yes.
Yes. Is that a question?
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that confirmation. The other 4 names are Sarah Dodge, Christopher Lett, Shelby Campbell, and Anita Walden.
It looks like we have Sarah and Christopher on the Zoom. I believe Shelby is here in person. Is Anita here? Yes, awesome. Thank you. Hi, Anita.
As we said last month, as the bylaws are written, nominations close at the end of this meeting. And so with whatever, as far as the directors go, whatever directors are nominated tonight will be on the slate a month from now at the annual meeting. Likewise, Julie and Peter, if there are no other nominations for secretary or treasurer.
I'm looking forward to a robust campaign.
Where president and vice president are concerned, of course, we have to take nominations after today if there are still no nominations for president or vice president by the end of this meeting. However, yeah, people are also wondering what happens if there are still none a month from now. Well, imagine a meeting with the president, but no quorum. That's kind of an example. There are decisions cannot be made if there's not a quorum, not an adequate representation of the members of the group. Money can't be spent. If there's no one to preside, there's no one to put together an agenda. Things just don't happen. I'm going to read.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So what is the cutoff for the voting at the next meeting for nomination?
Well, the cutoff was today for nominations, but I believe we might have to accept any president or vice president nomination that comes in.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That right up until
until the annual
we have the
meeting,
elections
right?
at the annual meeting. If
If-
by the end of the annual meeting, there is still no nominee, we leave that meeting without a president.
That will be my last meeting, will be November for the annual meeting.
So I'm going to read to you.
Wait, just a sec.
Mr. Chairman, is it fair
Yes.
to assume that we would accept nominees who would be willing to serve as a interim role or co-president or president pro tem or something other than a full term?
Yes, we can have a meeting with a president pro tem.
Mhm. Thank you.
I want to read from the bylaws. These are the duties of the president as listed in the bylaws. And I read this as things that don't happen if we don't have a president. Prepare the agenda for board and regular meetings, preside at all board and regular meetings, represent the position of the board and the interests of the MNA, act as spokesperson for the MNA, serve as the public contact for the MNA, appoint committee chairs, appoint neighborhood coalition delegate.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
And some of those can happen with a president pro tem, some of them can't or shouldn't.
Mhm.
So that's where we are.
I'd say basically the first two, probably the ones that you would most actively be doing is preparing the agenda and presiding over the meetings. Our committee chairs don't really change very often unless there's a vacancy. We do have a couple of committees that have a vacancy. And then serving as public contact. Mostly I get in emails from our neighbors about our neighborhood. Sometimes I'll get an email from someone randomly wanting to ask a question, wanting to present at a meeting or something like that. So very few and far between, not a lot of those. So really, of those duties, those first two are the ones that would probably take the most amount of time. Yeah.
What would you imagine the proper amount of number of hours dedicated for the role is in a month?
It could vary on how engaged of a president you want to be, like how much effort you want to put in to the position, how much you want to grow the neighborhood, bring people together, keep it thriving. I would say I probably spend on a very busy week, maybe 10 hours, going through emails, getting things going, attending other meetings, because I'm on a couple of other committees as well. But usually closer to the 5 to 6 range. I'll check emails at about an hour each day, and then building the agenda. So again, depends on how much effort you want to put into growing things.
Thank you.
Yeah. So,
Diane, I'm sorry, I can't raise my hand
oh,
electronically.
okay, go ahead, Patrick.
I was just gonna offer maybe an observation, which is who whomever accepts the nomination for president and or vice president would be greatly assisted by the very robust and active participants currently on the board. In particular, putting together an agenda, guiding, who could be a guest speaker, that sort of thing. So I would imagine that the transition into a new president role would be elevated and greatly assisted by the current board and people that were active participants. So I just putting that out there for anybody who's considering it, kind of like sitting on the fence. It's not kind of like being thrown into the cold water pool. There's going to be a lot of support for whoever that person is. So I thought I'd point that out.
Thank you so much for pointing that out. Absolutely. The rest of the board will support you. We have great other members that come with ideas for building an agenda. I myself will be happy to help support in a transition, even though I won't be serving on the board. You reach out to me with anything, happy to help with those transitions as well. So you'll be fully supported. And the agenda building is, for the most, it's pretty consistent month after month. Just maybe a guest speaker might change, or maybe there's a topic that we need to discuss. But basically the format stays consistent. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay.
Or nominations.
Or nominations? Okay. Well, then I guess we will move on to our committee reports. So for this part of the agenda, like everyone, you can refer to the full reports in the Google Drive. I will put the link here in the chat. And this time I want for the committee chairs to spend talking about maybe highlighting upcoming events where you need volunteers, anything like that you might need. So, Beth, you are up first with as our District 4 representative. An update you'd like to give?
Hi, thank you. Many things have been happening at D4C. We have a new interim executive director. Darlene Urban-Garrett's last day was last Friday. And now we are looking forward to working with Lisa Sloan. She has a lot of experience in working with neighborhood associations and other nonprofits. And I haven't met her yet, but other people have and have been very impressed with her. So if you have any questions, please send them to me and I'll pass them along to Lisa. I just did that this afternoon with somebody else. She's busy learning exactly what D4C does, and she's kind of in the information gathering part of her job at the moment. But in the next couple of weeks, we hope that she will be pretty much on board with everything that we have going on. We're still working with the newspaper. I've been working with them on their accessibility issues. As some you who know me know that that's what would happen, and that's been going well. We had D4C had a communications training last week, and we had the M&A had more members than anybody else in that meeting. We had 4 members, so hooray! I was so proud of M&A for that. If anybody who attended wants to speak up about what they learned at that session, I'd appreciate you doing that now. Anyone?
I will. I was not in attendance. I was or last week I was sick, but is anybody? No? Okay.
Yeah, I can make a comment. This is Peter. Hi, Beth. Yes, we were both at that meeting. And I just wanted to point out that we received through D4C from Olivia Clark, Commissioner Olivia Clark's office, a $2,000 stipend for our communication efforts. And I hope that will land on the agenda for an upcoming meeting of the communication team. If they have a special project in mind, if not, we have regular recurring annual expenses for our communication platforms, which I'd be happy to spend that money on. But if there's a new initiative that we can use to build our membership or participation, I'm all ears. And we would benefit from those kind of efforts. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter.
I
Thanks
love
for bringing that up.
money.
Some neighborhood associations had $300 deducted from their $2,000 for platforms that they use through D4C. So there's some confusion about that. That's getting straightened out now. But we got our whole 2,000 because we don't use their platforms. We have our own. So that was a good thing. We were one of a few associations that got the full amount. If anybody else has questions about what the coalition does, please ask me now. Or ask me later. I spend a lot of time. I'm on the executive committee, the governance committee, which is now also a nominating committee for the upcoming elections, as like we do here with the governance committee, and on the board. So I've been very busy with them, and I really appreciate being able to represent the MNA there. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Okay. Speaking of communications, Will, do you have a report for the task force?
I do, but I'll keep it brief because we've got a lot of things going, but we have some new people who have come onto our, what we call a communications task force. It's a committee by any other name, but it's emphasizing that we have things to do, and there are a lot of things to do in communication. Sarah Dodge has been actively cleaning up our webpage very nicely. I recommend that people take a look at it, give feedback to us so that we know where we're going. We have a brand new person that's here today, Marilyn Shaw, who has volunteered to be our social media coordinator. And she's getting up to speed. When I in my slow ways get together with her, we'll get some things going. So there's a lot of activity in communications, and communications, a lot of people, it's a very broad topic. I see it as directing information out to the public and get information in from the public. So we build a good cooperative, collaborative relationship as a active neighborhood association that truly represents and advocates for the community. It's I, by the way, am nominally chairing that. I'm probably the least qualified person on the committee. So anybody who wants to step in and step up, I will be very glad to relinquish the position and continue to support them. That's the
Don't
report.
sell yourself short, Will.
Okay.
Thank you.
If may I say something, please? May I pop in here for a second? Beth, again, thank you, Will, for all the work that you do and everybody else. Sarah, good job. And Marilyn Shaw, I would like to get together with you at some time to talk about your being our social media person. I think that's great. And I think I could help you in some way. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Beth. Make sure we get perhaps Will and can introduce yourself and Marilyn offline. Okay. Tad, do you have any governance committee updates for us?
Yes. A month ago, I presented a motion to amend the bylaws concerning emergency meetings. And thankfully, we got some very good feedback on that motion. And so instead of talking more about that motion, we are withdrawing the motion. The governance committee is going to reconsider that and some options. It won't be in time to present at the annual meeting, but perhaps early next year.
Next up is Julie with livability.
Can I ask Tad a question? Does that mean we have no amendments for the bylaws to consider the?
Right, and,
Yeah.
if the governance committee members could hang for a bit to talk about when to meet again.
Yeah.
Right after this meeting, let's do that.
Thanks.
Tad, what happens to the motion that Amanda and I put forward? What should we do with that?
Bring it up to the governance committee when we meet.
Okay, and you saw that we're gonna want to be part of that to discuss emergency, yes?
Yes, yes, thank
So
you.
we're setting that aside for now. Is there a parliamentary way to do that?
Oh, we just withdrew the motion.
Right, so there is no motion to amend.
No, that was your motion. I'm asking about the other motion that we asked to go before the board. What should we do with that motion?
It has,
That motion is being discussed within the governance committee, so it hasn't been discussed or approved within the governance committee to be brought to the board or to this meeting yet.
Okay, so it got moved to the governance committee instead of to the board, right?
Yes.
That's
Okay,
all
sounds
it's ever
good.
been.
Thanks. Just wanted to clarify that.
Sure.
Thank you.
If anyone is interested in discussing bylaws amendments, you can join the governance committee.
So I'm Julie. I am part of the livability committee, and that normally means trash and graffiti and stuff like that. And it does in this case, but something the activities, and this is in my update that's on the shared drive, but something, it's just cuter than a basket of puppies. So Halloween in the village, I don't know if anybody, whether you have kids or not, spend from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock on Halloween in the village. It'll just warm the cockles of your heart. So M&A has done everything that we can to support the business association in making it as delightful as possible. We've helped with photo booths in the past and all sorts of different things, and it's really just a delight. This year, the M&A is just, we're doing safety monitors, with the vests, making sure kids don't get squished. And we have plenty of people, and the Lions Club actually just offered their help as well. So we have plenty of people to make sure the event is safe. But please come out. There's going to be, just take a look if you're not already following all this stuff. But there's there's a photo booth at Village Park, which is something that we started. And there's going to be like a cemetery kind of thing. There's going to be a dog photograph competition with prizes, and there's something at Jay's Hut for pumpkins. Anyway, it's just something that I just really look forward to. And so the M&A is doing a small part there. The very next day, which is Saturday, the 1st, we're doing our very first ever M&A and Hillsdale Neighborhood Association combined solve trash event. 9 to 11. We were very, we went big for this one and opened it up to 50 people. I think we're already at 40 something people signed up, which is amazing. And the Hillsdale people are making me look terrible. They went to all of the businesses, and they have dozens of gift cards and other fabulous prizes, not a raffle, but a drawing.
Thank you.
And I brought I brought a couple, but they have so many. So, I mean, by now, I don't know what the odds are, but for 50 attendees, when you come back to return your grabbers and your buckets, you're gonna be showered with gifts. So, that's on our website and on Hillsdale's, and we've got some big problem areas. So whether you want to just pick up bubblegum wrappers and have a nice time, or if you want to get real dirty, we have all your choose your own adventures for that. Other than that, I love to support projects, and I encourage anybody who has a project, whether it be graffiti or trash or beautification or murals or anything that you think could be helpful in helping the community, bring it. I'm secretary at mnapdx.org. Send it my way. My ski season is about to start for my senior, and it means I'm missing most weekends until March. But I'm here to be your guide and helper to make a project that, you know, resonates with you or you think that the community could value. So throw your ideas and questions my way, and I'd be really happy to put a team together to see if it, as long as it's in line with our mission and you know, is approved, I would be very happy to arrange, you know, to do whatever I can to help. Yes.
So I know about oracles and ventricles in heart anatomy, but what are cockles exactly?
They're, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, where's the meetup in Hillsdale?
It is actually at MJCC
Okay, thanks.
on Capitol Highway, and the address is on the Solve site. And if it gets sold out, I'll open it up. We'll figure out how to find more trash. I'm sure we can do that.
Okay, excellent.
Thanks.
Thank you, Julie. Friends of Spring Garden Park. Will it be you, Pam, or Sarah?
Well, we're both here, and how about I take us away, and then Sarah, I'll check with you to see if there's more that you'd like to add. Our updates are pretty simple for this month. Our main objective has been to continue our ongoing stewardship events, which happen generally 2 times per month, year round. This month, we are excited because we're having our first meeting of our committee. It's going to be on Monday, October 20th at 7 p.m. at John's Marketplace. And if anybody is interested in joining us to meet other volunteers who are interested in getting things going for 2026 in Spring Garden Park, we're going to be meeting each other and kind of beginning to brainstorm and lay some foundations of kind of a skeleton of what our schedule could look like for next year. We have 7 people so far who are interested in joining us for that meeting to learn more. And if you want to contact us about it, we're at springgardenfriends@mnapdx.org. Anything else I'm missing, Sarah? You're on mute.
We can't hear you, Sarah.
I can also add that we are this month celebrating our 2-year anniversary of our stewardship events. So that's just an exciting milestone to keep that going, because most friends groups maybe meet once a month or once per quarter for this sort of stewardship thing. And we've been doing a higher rate than that because our park is high maintenance. And so we're proud of that.
Awesome.
That's what I was gonna just call out, that it's been 2 years. And so swing by if you want to come. There's an event tomorrow from 9 to 11. There may or may not be donut holes by the time you get there if you want. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Some great work you've been doing with the Spring Garden Park. Will, do you have an equity report to share with us?
Or if I can unmute myself here. Yeah, Equity Committee is focusing right now on helping immigrants in the area, immigrants and refugees, people who are the people who ICE is looking for. And it's a very delicate situation because people who are in that situation are not real eager to be publicized. So we're working with the general community to recognize that there are ways to support. You can go on our equity website for more on that. But I want to focus something on what we are doing with equity as a project. We have some activities that are getting together with people of color, people in rentals and other places. But our focus is on something that is local, uplifting, and not so grim. Equity can be a real, oh my God, there's this problem, that problem. We're talking about something that enhances everybody. And so I've encouraged people to come out. The Equity Committee meets on the 3rd Thursday of each month. And we're looking for people to get involved in our projects and pick some juicy ones to work on. So I'll leave it to that, but go to our webpage at mnapdx.org/equity and learn more.
Can you remind us when your monthly meetings are?
Yes, they're 3rd Thursday of every month, starting at 7 o'clock. They're on Zoom. At this point, we're not doing an in-person meeting. Beth, do you have anything you'd like to add to that? Okay. Okay, I'll carry.
I was muted, but no, you've said it all. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay. Stefan, do you have a transportation update for us?
Everybody, I have not much to report. One piece is in Salem, our legislature was able to get a bill across the finish line to put some money into transportation. It ended up being incredibly pared down from what was originally proposed and requested by ODOT and transportation agencies. But it's something, and potentially in this January or January of 27, will start going to PBOT to help fund PBOT. As far as local issues are concerned, there's a number of different optimistic folks that are still hoping there's a sidewalk program that gets put together for D1 and D4, but don't hold your breath. Other than that, no real important updates. The small safety project at Multnomah and 35th is hopefully going to go in the summer of 2026. They'll be closing the right turn lane from Multnomah onto south, right turn lane on eastbound Multnomah onto southbound 35th. So that right turn lane in front of the food carts, it'll give pedestrians a little bit more room to stand and make the cars take a wider turn at that crosswalk there. Also, like other folks here have said, I'm recruiting. So if you are disgruntled about your transportation system, I see a volunteer. Yes.
Lots of hands.
I could use some help. I've stretched myself a little thin. I'm on 2 PBOT committees right now. I'm on our 2045 Transportation System Plan Update Community Advisory Committee. I'm also on the Fixing Our Streets Citizen Advisory Committee. So I've spread myself a little thin there, or else I'd nominate myself for president. Sorry, everybody. Anyways, if people have energy, I've learned a lot about the ins and outs of the system. So yeah, I would love to get anybody's energy and direct it towards things they care about when it comes to transportation. That's all.
All right. We've got a volunteer here, so I'll connect Shelby with you.
I don't email Christian Riley all the time. Just gonna say that.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yes, Julie.
Stefan, I keep commuting. I'm going to, in the next 2 weeks, ask to spend 5 minutes with you so you can give me guidance on how I'm on 30th Avenue, and every single neighbor has looked to me saying, you're on the neighborhood association. How do we get speed bumps or other, deterrents to speeding, between Barber and the village? And I keep swearing an oath that I'm going to talk with you. And
I have a plan for you.
So bless you. And I know that we have plenty of enthusiastic people. I just need you to give me a roadmap. And
yes.
So thank you.
Excellent.
This is Carolyn, and I hope that goes through to 31st, because from Multnomah Boulevard to Capitol Highway, which is where I live, it is a racetrack. But with Julie and maybe Sanjuro, we're getting some posts with flags put at the crosswalk.
Awesome.
And
that's a great idea.
I don't know how that's going to come about, but Julie or Sanjuro know.
Oh, and I have one other thing to report, that there was a safety event, I believe yesterday, out on Vermont in front of the Montessori school at one of the busy pedestrian intersections with no sort of stop signs or anything for cars on Vermont. So it was another happy, fun safety event that helped remind cars to not speed down Vermont.
And it brought all 3 neighborhood associations together with Hayhurst, Maplewood, and Multnomah. having leaders and volunteers show up, donate supplies with vests and lights and signs. And our District 4 counselor, Mitch Green, was there, and we had the support of Portland Traffic Patrol with Sergeant Betsy Hornstein being there, giving people tickets. And she's the one who approves safety grants for officers to do events like this. And she does special events for the whole city of Portland on behalf of PPB. So awesome to have her there, and it was a good turnout, and we're doing another one March 30th in the spring.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
March 30th. Okay. Maria, do you have a question?
Hi, I have a question. Stephen, do you have an update on the light rail for Barber? I know that the last I had heard that it had been tabled. Is that still the case? So what's the update with the whole light rail on Barber?
Yeah, that's going to be tabled, and I wouldn't imagine there's any movement on that for potentially a decade. Right now, the hot thing for TriMet is bus rapid transit, or BRT. They are doing one on 82nd, and the next one they're going to do is going to be on TV Highway. And the rumors are after they do the TV Highway one, they're going to do the one on Barber, which will bring some upgrades to Barber, not much. So it's gonna take a lot to make even that happen. And there's rumors the TV Highway one is going to be delayed until 3 years and a couple months from this November for certain reasons, which y'all can guess. So it's unfortunate. So I wouldn't expect any real movement on Barber for a half a decade at least, if not more. Julie.
Well, we have, oh, sorry, Will had his hand up first, and then we'll go to Julie.
Okay, just briefly, I want to piggyback off of that because the light rail may be on hold, but along with it came a project which is almost unique in the development of light rail. Typically, when the light rail comes in, the area gets gentrified. And the city of Portland said, we're not going to make that happen. We just started something called a Southwest Corridor Equity Development Strategy to help the people who are already there, who may be lower income or people of color or whatever, to continue to be there and be integrated into the whole development. That is under review right now, even though light rail is not around, to develop the equity strategy for this area. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, let's get together and talk about it. Thanks.
Thanks, Will. Julie.
Just a non sequitur. I had heard that Prosper Portland had reached out to the Multnomah Business Association asking if they wanted to support a Barber business district, which would be amazing. I don't know anything about it, but I had heard about it. They turned it down because Multnomah Village Business Association is focused on that. And if anybody wanted to learn more about that and reach out to Prosper Portland and understand what that would involve, that would be an amazing committee to help support. We would, just wanted to throw it out there that it seems like a wonderful opportunity, but I don't know what that would look like for the neighborhood association.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Stefan. It's always lots of activity with transportation. Okay. Up next is our MSRB CAC group. Mark or Paloma, which one of you will be giving the update today?
Our assigned person is taking a much needed vacation day, so I think it might be a rock, paper, scissors thing.
Okay.
Do you want to start, Mark, and I'll see if I can fill in anything that you seem like you missed. I do have the notes from today in front of me, so I could talk about stuff.
Okay. Well, it's really largely been a continuation of the same. We've been working with the city, with Urban Alchemy, to try and mitigate a lot of these offsite impacts with noise, lighting, etc. And it sounds like Urban Alchemy is getting their hands around some of the items better. There are other things that need some work. But generally it's mostly a continuation of the same. We did, because the good neighbor agreement mentioned specifically that if there's a change in operator, that the good neighbor agreement might be revisited. So we touched on that with the city, and not to say that we want to do it or we don't want to do it or anything, just to find out, what they think the process might look like. And Urban Alchemy was in the meeting, West Hills was in the meeting. They didn't really offer anything, but we got kind of a flavor of it. It sounds like it would be a long-term lift to rework the neighborhood agreement, and the mayor is not inclined to do new good neighbor agreements. I'm sorry. So there's that. And I think I'll just stop right there.
I will add that this echoes part of that, but there are a fairly small number of folks who are very highly impacted negatively by the Safe Rest Village in terms of the lighting and the noise and all different kinds of things. And what I want to say is that the new operators, the head people of the new operators, and also the city folks who are on our advisory committee are now in regular direct communication with those different neighbors, or at least some of those different neighbors. So that is a good thing, I think, to me, that they're getting to know each other and can be responsive, where the neighbors feel like they can reach out to those people and they know who they are and they're communicating back and forth. And the Urban Alchemy does seem to be responsive to the neighbor saying, we're hearing this. And then they have, in a few instances, really figured out what that source of a repeat noise is, and taking steps to address it. And then the other thing is that the hotline, so we went from having a phone number that the folks could call, nearby neighbors could call anytime, to a switchboard that was only during the day, located in California. And so that hotline is now located in the Sears building, is 24/7. So that's huge, huge change in that. And they're going to be getting out a flyer that the board and folks and the neighbors can have information about that hotline resource that's kind of back to where it was with the former operator.
Question?
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, I have a question for you. This is Peter. After reading the committee report, I took a look at the Good Neighbor Agreement, and one relatively, without doing a wholesale review of the agreement, it might be worthwhile to replace attachment F, which is the operating protocols from Sunstone Way, with some documentation from Urban Alchemy about what their community protocols are. Is that worth pursuing?
Yeah, they did say, yeah, we totally could change the operator, but I appreciate you identifying that specific document. I assume that if we went through and were changing all that, that would have come up, but I appreciate you flagging that. And they said that we could do that. Previously, they had said, well, it's just whatever operator's there, just insert their name. We're, not going to change it. But in the conversation today, they said we totally could do that.
I think they're willing to work with the neighborhood association, and obviously there's other stakeholders. Whichever direction we want to go. If it's at the beginning of the conversation, they said, well, it's kind of if it's not broke, don't fix it. And then toward the end, they said, well, let's see what your proposals are, and then we'll have to run it all up the flagpole. So yes, that was one item we mentioned last month. And there are a number of things that if you wanted to scrutinize, you could, but again, it would be a process. So.
I will see.
I have a cousin who says, if you desire clear waters, don't tease the squid. So,
They also did give updates that the priority of the city, and that they're having budget issues, and so the city is really not looking to increase or put more money or expanding any shelters like the Safe Rest Village that are 24/7. Instead, the city's really putting all the resources it can into night shelters, just so that they can say that there's an adequate number of beds, so that if a person they pick up refuses to go to a shelter, they can then basically arrest them and cite them.
Okay, thank you for that. And we're getting a little bit over on time, and I want to make sure we have enough for our guest speaker. So Beth, we're gonna have to table your question till later so we can move on to Sanjuro's public safety update and then our guest speaker. Oh.
Hi. Just maybe two things really quick that I'll report, since other people have already reported some of the stuff that I wanted to. So one was that I was able to go to the D4 public safety meeting. It was in the evening this time, which actually really helps me. And there was some interesting stuff there. One thing was that they, D4 itself is coming up with a sort of reporting mechanism for incidents around some of the Safe Rest Villages and the night shelters that will link directly to 311, and then also provide sort of a map that shows the incidents. So like something similar, but much better than the thing I was doing. So, so I'm sort of optimistic that that will be helpful to track some of the incidents around the Safe Rest Village. The other thing I will just mention is that Beth and I went to talk to folks over at Stevens Creek Crossing, and they have a big garden plot that they are looking to sort of refurbish. And so we're sort of trying to marshal some resources from the SRV to help them in whatever we can. So some sort of pleas for potential volunteers to do some work around that might be forthcoming at some point. And the other thing is I'm really looking forward to hearing Jeremy, who I've been talking to about the night change. Jeremy about the Sears Armory, which is something that we had been talking about a little bit, but I'm really super excited to kind of hear him talk about it. Thanks.
Okay, great, thanks. Well, that's a perfect segue then into our guest speaker tonight. I'd like to welcome the Community Preparedness Manager with Portland's Bureau of Emergency Management, Jeremy Von Kueren. I messed it up.
That's fine.
So there, okay. And for those of you on this Zoom, he's on just right across from my hand here.
Hello.
So.
Hello, virtual people.
Yes.
Ones and zeros people. All right. Yeah, thank you for the introduction. I'm also a neighbor of yours. I just live in a neighborhood over in Homestead. I'm a frequent flyer at Fat City Cafe here in the village. Probably shouldn't go there as often as I do. And I've worked for the city of Portland since 2003, and I've worked for the Portland Bureau of Emergency Management since 2012. So I've been there the entire time that we've had any kind of involvement in the Sears Center. Well, maybe not the entire time. So by way of background, the conversation here really centers around an emergency operations center, which in the event of a disaster is the physical location that city leadership migrates to so that they can begin managing the incident. And we have an EOC on the east side. The need for an EOC was really made pretty clear during an exercise that we have with the federal government in 2006. It's called Top Off 4, and it was a simulation of a dirty bomb detonated at a MAX train. And after that, everybody was pretty concerned that we didn't have a location where city bureaus could coordinate, and also outside partners. So the effort to start an EOC was really spearheaded by Commissioner Randy Leonard, and it became part of a public safety bond, and we built the EOC that we work out of today. broke ground in 2012 and we opened it in January of 2014 over on the east side. There's a lot of reasons why we opened that EOC on the east side. The two big ones are, first of all, the ground that we placed the EOC on is stable relative to other pieces of real estate inside City of Portland city limits. That's one reason, being as it is on 99th and Powell. And then the other reason is because we are right next to BOAC, the 911 center, and they had a lot of telecommunications infrastructure that we wanted to build on top of. So that's what made it an ideal site for us. And if Multnomah Neighborhood Association ever wants a tour, I can arrange that for you. After all, you paid for it. But what we do not have is what we sometimes refer to as a backup EOC or an accessory EOC. If for any reason the main EOC were compromised or was not functioning for some purpose, we would have a backup EOC, and it made logical sense to explore putting that one on the west side of the river. And it was in 2011, I believe it was, that the Corps of Engineers decided that they were going to move the personnel that was at the Sears Center and dispose of the building, essentially. And they offered it to the city under the condition that the city would use it as a West Side EOC. Actually, let me a clarifying point. I don't actually know if the deed restriction said a public safety facility or specifically an EOC. I actually don't know that. But that's relevant because there were other conversations about having it as some other kind of public safety facility. For example, there was a rumor, and it was just a rumor, I don't know if this is actually true, like in 2015, 2016, that Prosper Portland wanted to buy the site that Portland Fire and Rescue's Logistics Center is at over on 12th and Powell and move logistics over to the Sears Center. And obviously that never materialized. But to make a long story short, the Army Corps gave the facility to the city of Portland with the intent that the city of Portland would make it into an EOC. Portland City Council commissioned and received a master plan for a West Side EOC in June of 2013. And that set off conversations, many of which I was not personally privy to, just about how are we going to find the money for this. To spend the money to convert the Sears Center into a West Side EOC was never enough of a priority in the city's budget. It was so those conversations kept going. I think we started seeing its use as a temporary homeless shelter, and I want to say in 2017, if memory serves.
Winter of 15-16.
Yeah, I think that's right. It was an emergency homeless shelter, and I think that use concluded in May of 2016 or 2017, and then COVID happened, and then after COVID, Mayor Wheeler's staff wanted to make it a safe rest village, if memory serves, in 2022. There was a complaint filed from the federal government saying, hey, you're not using it for the purposes that we said you needed to use it for. So the city of Portland bought out the deed restriction for, I think, $3 million. And then we at PBEM, we were using it as a storage facility and still trying to figure out if we could use it as an EOC, but we were evicted from the spot in April 2024, which is why my cubicle's a mess, because all that stuff that was stored is now shoved into the EOC, and a lot of it is at my desk still. So that is a quick history of the Sears Center as I know it. I think what's important to say is that if we had not been offered the Sears Center free of charge, I don't think we ever would have looked at it as a viable location for an EOC for many, many reasons. The only good thing about the Sears Center for that purpose is the location. Other than that, it's a terrible site for an EOC. It's unreinforced masonry. We haven't confirmed asbestos, but it's probably there, as is lead, which I do think that we are certain about. The current Safe Rest Village is not exposed to any of that because it's all inside that building that they're not using. But it wasn't a building that we were able to use. It's also not ADA compliant. So the master plan that we got in 2013 specified different stages of ADA compliance, hazard mitigation, and then let's actually turn this into a real functioning EOC.
In the existing building
Yeah,
or replacing the building?
in the existing building, which to me is fascinating. So I think the price tag for the full meal deal on the strategic plan, I would have to fact check this, but I think it was somewhere between 7 and 9 million. So today we're looking at, I mean, particularly with terrace, probably 12, 14 million to retrofit that building. If you gave me that much money and said, Jeremy, go find a West Side EOC, I'd be driving up and down Barber looking for something. I would not be giving even a second glance to the Sierra Center. The fact that we don't at this time have a West Side EOC does not have any bearing on the level of service that the West Side is going to receive in the aftermath of a disaster. An EOC is not a public building. It's not a place where folks can go to and find services. That's not what its purpose is. Its purpose is to coordinate city government personnel. But then, a good question would be like, well, then, Jeremy, why would you have a West Side EOC at all? There's two reasons. One is for just redundancy. Again, if something happened to the East Side EOC, at least we'd have the West Side as a backup. The other is that some of us do live on the West Side. Myself, our deputy director, is a resident of Markham, and of course, a lot of city employees. It was also, and I think this is a relevant point too, in the master planning process and in all the discussions that we had, a hope that we had for that facility is that it would be a refueling station for transportation trucks, particularly during snowstorms, things like that. Post earthquake was not the only thing that we were thinking about for that facility. So that's it in a nutshell. I know it's described as a guest speaker. I'm really a guest answerer of questions. I'm really interested to know what questions I can answer that you may have about emergency management in general right now, or West Side response, or anything like that. One other thing I'll add is that probably the most important thing that you can do to bolster resilience in this neighborhood or in any neighborhood is, first of all, just knowing who your neighbors are is sincerely like the best thing that you can do. And that's actually a lot. It's pretty important. And then the next thing I would say is, well, of course, get prepared, like have a supply of water, have a supply of food, first aid supplies, that kind of thing. But also pay close attention to what's happening with the Beacon program. Because one of the things that the West Side EOC would also allow us to do is to communicate with the East Side EOC. At the time all this stuff was being talked about, the Beacon program did not exist. And so we were really thinking about, okay, so if we're relying on amateur radio, how do we communicate from the West Side to the East Side, especially considering that we're all the way on 99th and Powell? What has happened since the beginning of these conversations is now we have neighborhood-based communications nodes that are expected to be viable in the aftermath of an earthquake. One of the problems that we're having at PBEM right now, though, is, I think everybody here knows that the city budget is not great right now. We've taken quite a few hits. We're down to 12 people right now. We're like the second smallest bureau in the city. I supervised one FTE whose only job was to manage the Beacon program, and he retired, and we never got that FTE back. So my team is trying to pull up the slack for that. And the way that can work is if volunteers in neighborhoods are just checking on those beacons and making sure that they still work, because it's not possible for me to, or my staff, to do that all the time. It's just, the math wouldn't math. We have to have volunteers. So if it's something that anyone can volunteer for, it's a very easy training. It's honestly a little bit of a catch-22. It's suspended right now, but I think we're going to bring them back in January, just as we kind of recenter what we're doing with the Beacon program. But it's not going away. But we do need volunteers who know how to operate the radio and who are just keeping an eye on those caches.
Okay, I'm sure we can put some more info about Beacon program in the minutes on our drive. We have a couple of questions online though. Stefan, you had your hand up first. Or no?
Stefan's kind of like, one other thing I want to do is I want to acknowledge Tom Boker.
Sorry.
your net team leader in this area, neighborhood emergency team. And he is your gateway to the rest of us. So, and thank you, Tom, for everything you put into this.
Just want to amplify what Jeremy mentioned about knowing your neighbors. We have a community preparedness pod program, and we're integrating neighbors, helping people get to know each other. We take them through an educational program of how to prepare with water, food, sanitation, and we have a very active program. Anyone that wants to start up one of these pods, would love to have that happen. We started this program about a year ago. We have 100 households in Multnomah that are integrated into that right now. That's about 1 in 30 households. And there's obviously room to grow. So anyone that's interested in doing that, I'll provide contact information, both to Net and Beacon. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Stefan, did you still?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Thanks, guys. Hey, thanks for coming and chatting with us. I'd love to just get your quick take on the CEI hub, and is that something that keeps you up at night? And is there a path forward where maybe we can get that protected against its seismic risk?
Does it keep me up at night? Yes, it does. To be candid, it is probably the most complicated emergency management situation in the city and probably the region. I mean, I could talk for hours about the CEI hub. I think the most important.
What does CDI stand for?
Sorry, critical energy infrastructure. So what we're talking about is if you're going out to Astoria when you're on Highway 30, look to your right, all those tank farms. That's where approximately 90% of the state of Oregon's liquid fuel passes through. That's also a big reason why notions of moving the CEI hub to a different place is extremely challenging. I think the best thing that communities can do right now to address the CEI hub is to make sure at all times that your representatives know that you care about it. Again, I could talk a lot more about the CEI hub, but I don't know if we have time for it. But it is a major issue, to be sure, and I appreciate you bringing it up. But yeah, is there maybe a more specific question?
Are you optimistic that there's a path forward to a solution in, like, let's just say 20 years?
Yeah, but I think the market's going to have a lot to do with it. And how, and I'm optimistic that changes in the fuel market are really going to do more to dictate what happens to the CEI hub than anything else. But that's not to say that there could not be other solutions. It's complicated because there's so many different government agencies involved and the private sector. Everybody's got concerns, everybody's got rights. It's difficult to untangle. I talked to a mediator who worked on the situation, and he told me that he wanted to walk away from it because he just couldn't believe how intense it was.
There was a period after Hurricane Katrina when in the end it turned out that the levees weren't unengineered. It was just a political quagmire that the levees existed in that created the horrible flooding in Louisiana after that hurricane. So maybe it's a similar issue.
I think that is a just comparison.
Okay, thank you.
It could be. Yes.
Will, you had your hand up, a question?
Yeah, it's a real quick question, actually. I got my other question taken care of, but the EOC stands for?
Oh, sorry. Hi, I'm Jeremy. I speak an acronym. I work in it stands for Emergency Operations Center.
That's what I guessed it was. But
Yeah,
there's a specific question from Patrick on the chat. It's asking, what is the range of the beacon radios and how far apart do your volunteers ideally need to be spaced?
So I don't actually know off the top of my head what the distance is. I can tell you when we stood up the program in 2013, we did measure it out, and we wanted to spread the program fairly evenly throughout the city of Portland, which we succeeded in doing, except for Forest Park. That was a little bit of a problem spot for us. What is what is probably more relevant than distance between nodes is Southwest and Northwest Portland's geography and all the hilliness that we have here. And for that reason, we actually have a radio repeater for the beacon system set up in Markham that we don't have placed anywhere else just to help boost the signals. Does that answer your question, Patrick? Am I getting at it? Okay.
Hi, my name is Stuart, and I wonder if you could clarify something for me. My memory of the history of events around the Sears Center in terms of the Emergency Operations Center was that one of the purposes of that site was to stage equipment, supplies, fuel, as you say, in case we got the big earthquake, because a lot of that stuff is positioned over in Stanton Yard on the east side and so forth. Is that the wrong impression? And
No.
what else? And so what has the city done to stage equipment, supplies, trucks, and fuel on the west side? One of the purposes for which the Sears Center was intended.
Right. So I don't know. I don't know what conversations are happening around staging equipment. And I can say that, so honestly, that's a question that would probably be better be answered by someone with Portland Transportation, because they have the equipment yards over just off of Interstate.
Right.
And the idea was to move some of that over there. But then there's also all the scuttlebutt around the age of the Kirby garage, which is relevant to this discussion, because it seems like, I know that I think they just found a new a temporary replacement for the Kirby garage. The relevance of that is, I think that, and again, now I'm just guessing here, to be completely honest with you, but I would guess that that's going to have some bearing on where they're going to want to stage equipment. But I have heard no discussions in recent memory about staging equipment, so I don't know.
Is that not something that your department and PBOT kind of coordinate on a little bit? It seems like there should be some joint.
Yeah,
since it's a
that's
joint service.
those were conversations that we had at the time that we were developing the master plan for the Sears Center. But to my knowledge, I could be wrong about this, but to my knowledge, I haven't heard those conversations since. To my knowledge, I know I haven't heard those conversations. I don't know. That's not to say that they haven't been happening, but I'm not aware of them. I'm sorry, that's not a very satisfying answer, but I don't have all the info on that.
Any question? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Good.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just wondering how sort of the NET program has evolved for your team over time. Is it still as active as you had imagined it would be? Is it funded? What's the ongoing plan for that?
Sure. So the NET program, NET stands for Neighborhood Emergency Team, and it's Portland's equivalent to a CERT program in other cities. CERT stands for Community Emergency Response Team. The CERT program, it became, FEMA adopted the CERT curriculum in the 90s. And actually one of the writers of it was a Portland firefighter. We are the third oldest CERT program in the United States. So we started ours in 1994. It was started by a lady named Rachel Jackie. She's still around. I think she lives in Southwest Portland too, actually. And it was originally begun in response to news about the prospect of a Cascadia subduction zone earthquake. That was kind of the big thing. And I'm old enough to remember that we never talked about an earthquake until about the mid-90s. It is a lot, I think most people know this, but maybe not everybody knows this. We didn't even know that we were vulnerable to an earthquake like that until approximately 1985. And even then, those geologists were often laughed out of boardrooms until we found more evidence. And it's like, oh, okay, this thing actually, not only did it happen, it's going to happen again. So that lit a fire under a lot of people to start programs like the NET program. It used to be in Portland Fire and Rescue until our bureau was formed, I think in 2004. And then so it moved from the Fire Bureau over to us. And as far as the evolution of it goes, so the reason why I brought up that it was started, I think in response to news about an earthquake, is because since then we've definitely become more all hazards oriented. The earthquake is, what I say to folks is we trained to the standard of responding to an earthquake, but we are an all hazards group. This is positive in the respect that it's difficult to talk to Portlanders about a Cascadia subduction zone earthquake because it's such an abstract concept. I've been through, it's an abstract concept to me, and I deal with this literally every single day of my life. I've been in one earthquake in my life and it was teeny tiny. So when I start talking about, yeah, we're gonna have a 9.0, I don't even know what that actually means. I've obviously never experienced that. And the outcome of that is that I don't think net was as popular as it's becoming now. I think we're starting to see that nets have a role to play in extreme heat events, wildland fire events. What's that?
Ice storms.
Ice storms. We're working with the Fire Bureau to do fire fuel mitigation. So what's the name of their program? I'm having a brain hiccup. I can't remember. Yeah, they have a program where they help chop down fire fuel. So
It's an acronym, don't worry. We'll call it.
yeah. But another I think somewhere what we're really also just trying to involve is what I say is that our program is really a community resilience program, and we don't train just disaster responders. We train community leaders. But you have a lot of the same issues that that you see with a lot of community groups. It's like, do people have time? What's the agenda, that kind of a thing. And so we're really trying to develop more curriculum to prop that up. I'm also just optimistic with changes in how our city government is formed. I think any kind of community resilience programming in the commission form of government was very siloized. I would look at, say, the Main Street program that Prosper Portland used to do, and that's like a local business economic development program. But that's okay, but that's a community resilience program. It's economic development flavored, but it's still about community resilience. Now we have this new form of government, and slowly, but I am optimistic that we are starting to talk more about how do we break down silos. So all that to say, like I'm hoping that we get more involved with other bureaus, unlikely partners, in just propping up communities even more than we have. And the name of the program I was trying to remember was Firewise.
Not an acronym.
Not an acronym, but sorely needed in my own neighborhood. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just curious.
And we've also grown a lot.
Yeah.
Right now we're managing 1,400 active volunteers. We're larger than New York City's CERT program. They have recently boasted 1,000 volunteers. That's a city 13 times the size of Portland. So I'm a lifelong Portlander. This is why I love this town. It's like, yeah, of course. Of course.
We
got that.
We have 25 volunteers in Multnomah. We need more. So anyone that's interested, there's a great training program. Gets you integrated and you see things in the community you never knew it existed. So great opportunity.
And something I'll say about that too, I think for the longest time, a barrier to participation in the net was the fact that the training is 28 hours long. What we also now have a program where if you are interested in caucusing with your local net, but you don't have the time or the inclination to take 28 hours of training, you can be what's called an affiliated volunteer. We don't indemnify you, but we can at least say, okay, if a disaster happens, here's the role that you have to play, and it doesn't require special training. So that's something that you can talk with Tom more about, and then, yeah.
We have an upcoming Multnomah Net meeting. It's at the Southwest Community Center, the 21st at 7 o'clock. Anyone that's interested, please stop on.
This is sort of a follow-up to his question about the west side and kind of preparedness. You mentioned the need for refueling, and other than an EOC command center on the west side, what do you see as a need for the west side of the river as far as preparedness for an emergency?
I would go back to what I was saying.
Not necessarily preparedness, but response.
I mean, we're talking about post-earthquake. Is that kind of what we're talking about?
If you're asking me, it would be, wildfires scare me more than the Cascadia event, but.
Well, this goes back to the fact that disasters, by their nature, being large, complicated events, they're not resolved by like a single government bureau. They're resolved by communities. And so my answer to you, the reason I say that is because in some lights this might sound like a cop out, but it's really not. We need as much community participation and preparation that we can get, and that's why, you know, particularly on the west side of the river, Firewise is a really great program to get involved with. It makes a big difference. You know, I look.
A community can't stockpile rock. Community can't stockpile large equipment. So.
Right. Okay. So you're asking what the city should.
The city, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I think if we are talking about post earthquake, I think we need to make sure that we have. Well, one of the important purposes of an EOC is there's a place for us who are working on addressing the disaster can meet, and we're sharing technology and all that stuff. So basically, a big meeting room that's got a radio antenna on it that can communicate with the east side. You know, that in itself is a pretty good EOC, but also being able to have refueling capacity, like kind of like we've talked about, staging equipment, things like that. Those would also be very nice to haves. Again, you know, if you ever want to see the east side EOC to get a less abstract picture of what that does, I'm happy to take everyone through a tour, and I can answer questions about, like, yeah, that's why this is there, that's why this is there, that kind of a thing. I don't know if that's a complete answer to your question, but it all just kind of depends on, well, what emergency are we talking about? Yeah, I mean, you know, the question about the CEI hub, does it keep me up at night? It does. What keeps me up at night more than that, though, is Forest Park, with all the climate change that we have right now, and that's why I really hope Southwest and Northwest communities support Firewise more, because it does make a difference. And if you don't believe me, you don't have to take my word for it. OPB just came out with a really great documentary about the fires in Los Angeles earlier this year. There's one part of it that shows a house that participated in Firewise. They did fire fuel mitigation around their house. It was on top of a hill. It is literally the only home standing still on that hill. Everything else is nothing but a pile of ash. It's striking, and it's amazing, really. So that's something else that I also go to my own neighborhood association meetings. I'm like, guys, we need Firewise, come on. And they're like, yes, Jeremy, we agree. And I'm like, okay, but who's got the wood chipper? Like, come on, let's do this. So
Great, we have time for just 2 more questions, 1 in the room, and then we'll be next on Zoom. So that's the question.
I mean, you actually kind of asked that question. It's just more about, like, yeah, what are the priorities for the west side? And I guess just to follow up, so like right now, there's no plans for an EOC on the west side, so it's just gonna be relying on the net.
yeah, that's correct. At this time, there is no plan for a West Side EOC. That doesn't, of course, that doesn't mean that there'll never be a plan. I think if we had the resources to really begin exploring that, I think the first place that, this is my opinion, this isn't coming from my director, but I'm pretty certain he would agree that we would go to the neighborhoods first and start asking questions about, like, what do you want to see here? And then answering questions about what we think makes sense to have there. We'd probably get consultants and engineers involved, things like that. In short, I think we'd probably have to restart the strategic planning process. And there's just a lot that would go into that to determine what would make most sense.
I think I'd like to offer a comment that people are worried about, you know, how they will deal with an emergency. And that starts with what you do in your home right now. In these types of situations, so much that we do in our everyday life comes from an outside service. You turn on the water, you turn on the electricity, you flush the toilet, and it's all taken care of. In a true emergency situation, those types of resources are not available. So concern about emergency response begins in your home and with your neighbors. And those are the things you can start the next time you go to the grocery store and buy 2 extra cans of food, or pick out a water storage container, figure out how to get water under your water heater. Those are things you can start doing right now and not be hoping that at some point in the future, the city will be in a position to plan an EOC over here, which again, really is a communications hub. it's not a place where you can go and get supplies. So it begins in the home and the steps that you take there.
I might add to that. I don't like talking about this stuff because when you talk about emergency management stuff, you begin to get uninvited from parties because you don't want to lead with fear. But I will point out that two things of recent note that concern me. One is that FEMA is in bad shape right now as an organization. Who knows if it'll even exist a year from now? We don't know. And how much capacity the federal government will have to help us if this earthquake happened tomorrow, I don't know. That's one thing. The other thing is that if you listen to Think Out Loud today on OPB, they're talking about a new study that's out saying that an earthquake along San Andreas could trigger a Cascadia subduction zone earthquake. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Sorry. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it.
I started.
They made me do it.
Today and I had to mom, and I can't.
I want to say that though because I really want to stand up what Tom is really talking about is that yeah, this stuff really does belong in the home. Do you have enough water prepared? Do you have enough food prepared? Like, that kind of thing. Because if something like that were to happen, regional giant earthquakes like that, the whole West Coast would be a literal disaster area.
And I've attended some net meetings, this is Julie, and one thing that I really liked how Tom and Sam had told me is prepare so that the emergency responders can do other things. Like, don't be like, take care of yourself and your neighbors so that the big guns can do whatever they need to do, but they don't need to help you. And that's how I remind myself, like, how can I be resilient and be resilient with my neighbors so that I'm not needing the immediate support.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So it's scary stuff, but you can empower yourselves. And that's really kind of the message that we want people to take away from it. And I'm so sorry. I don't like it either.
We might invite you back. So
Okay. Well, you always can.
We have one last question from Will on Zoom.
Okay, this should be a real quick one. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Multnomah neighborhood voted against AHOP, which is the Affordable Housing Opportunities Project, rezoning the Sears Center for commercial mixed-use zone 2. And the city claimed that CM2 would actually allow the Emergency Operations Center. I wasn't sure it would be doing it, but more relevant, what I'm hearing you say is, even if it did allow it, this isn't a good place to have one. So that's kind of a why bother with messing with the rezoning? Am I correct? First of all, would CM2 handle that kind of a center? And Sue, am I correct that you would really not consider the Sears Center a good emergency operations center?
Well, like I said, the location is ideal. It's right next to the freeway. It's right next to Multnomah Village. It's a main thoroughfare. The location, the geographic spot that Sears Center is on, is actually pretty great. I would be hard pressed to find a better one. They might exist, but it's pretty great. It's the building itself that is problematic. What I'm saying is I'm giving you my opinion. This is not an official City of Portland policy, but if my boss said, Jeremy, go find a building that will serve as a West Side EOC, I would drive right past Sears because it is a unreinforced masonry building that is not ADA compliant and also has prospective hazmat.
But that site could be used for other resources.
It could, and right now it is. Yeah,
it is technically right now being used under an emergency.
But for that building to have any kind of administrative office use, the hazards and the ADA compliance issues have to be mitigated, and then we can really start thinking about things like, okay, can we wire it for technology like sufficiently, things like that? Can we have a jumbotron and play Mario Kart on it? Like all of that. We have to start with ADA, have to start with the hazmat stuff, and that alone would be millions of dollars to mitigate. So yeah, it's my opinion is why bother? Like, especially when there's other facilities in Southwest Portland that might serve the purpose better. It was attractive at first because we got it practically for free. That's not the case anymore.
Okay, and the second part was, would the new zone, commercial mix two, actually allow an EOC?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that question. I can find out and get back to you on that.
Okay, thanks. That's it. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the
Then,
clarification. It's
did you
great.
say it was an EXD?
What's that?
What, did you say it was EXD zoning?
No, it's our RG, EG right now. And then
EG
we're
right
changing
now?
it to
It's
the
EG2 is right now, and it would become CM2 as far as the zone codes would be concerned.
which,
Yeah, I don't know.
again, doesn't quite make a lot of sense if the building is hazmat, and why do you want to change it to be residential?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks.
excellent. Discussion, and thanks for coming. Does anyone have any
Thanks, Jared. Of course, I
right.
appreciate you having me.
thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you ever want me back, even after that display of despair, I am more than happy to come back, and I'm quite serious. Like, if you ever want to see the EOC, just give me a time, and we'll make it happen and come through. And yeah, and you know, we work weekends and after hours, so it doesn't have to be during business hours either. So, okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Exciting.
Enjoy the rest of the week.
Next up, we have two quick topics, and then we can close our meeting, maybe on time today. Going to do a very quick, brief open for new business. If anybody has a topic that we want to consider or talk about at the next meeting, and now's your chance to bring that up. Peter?
I do have a topic.
Okay.
In case you're not aware, we currently have a small storage space donated to us by Neighborhood House in their basement. And they are moving out sometime in the winter. They haven't put a date on that yet, but we will have to find a new home for some of our stuff there. And we have had discussions with them about how M&A might be able to use some of the spaces in their new Barber Boulevard facility. I know they would welcome hosting these meetings. Whether they would extend that to storage space or an office space, we don't know yet. I don't think they know yet how they're going to fully use that new facility. But I think it's you know, something to consider for next time is opening discussions with Neighborhood House about our future relationship.
Yeah, we will note that down. Thank you. Maria.
Hi, I just want to say on behalf of the Multnomah Historical Association, we are working to stand up the organization and renew its 5013C. I know Julia is involved in that, as well as others from the Neighborhood Association, so we do appreciate that. We're looking at partnering with the Neighborhood Association and potentially the Village Association on acquiring some interpretive signs, and also looking at 2026 as the 100th anniversary for the viaduct. And that would be something that could help bring attention to the history of the area, and would love the support of the Neighborhood Association as we move forward on this.
Okay, great, thanks. I've got that.
Maria, that'd be 2027. Just,
Oh, okay, well, we'll need a year to plan.
yeah.
Okay.
Good thinking.
Yeah. Okay, then our final minute, our next meeting, the annual meeting, is going to be on Tuesday, November 18th. We did push that back 1 week, so it's not our typical second Tuesday, it's the third Tuesday of the month, November 18th. We'll meet here and on Zoom. And again, if President, anyone is willing and able to step in as president to submit your nominations to our governance committee chair, Ted. We will accept any of those that come in beyond today. And then we will vote on our board at the next meeting as well. Okay.
Motion
to adjourn.
Don't need a motion to adjourn.
We do not.
The president can declare it
The
adjourned.
meeting, since the meeting has now come to an end. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Madam President.